Winston Churchill once said that Russia was a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma, and I think that remains true today. And yeah, Russia, what can you say? The Putin regime, the war in Ukraine, the threats in the Baltics, saber rattling between the Western powers and Russia, and the history. The history is interesting. Part of the Mongol Empire at one time. Then you had Peter the Great pulling Russia back towards the West. The Russian Revolution, the Soviet Union that caused so much harm to the people of Russia during the 20th century, but then defeated largely Hitler and Nazism. So a complicated history and an interesting one. And what I wanted to do in this video is give you 3 book recommendations that you can take to start building your knowledge of 20th century Russia, if that's something that you're interested in. And the first one that I'm going to talk about is a book by Robert Service. This is a 20th century history, like a survey of Russia in the 20th century. And I think I often recommend these types of books, especially when you're new to a specific area, because it gives you a chance to get a full scope of the entire century. It allows you to have a timeline where all the events are placed in order, and you get to survey all of them and see what interests you. Perhaps you're interested in Lenin or like the Russian Revolution and the Bolshevik power grab. Perhaps you're more interested in World War II or in the Soviet Union that followed. So it gives you a chance to see and to sort of read about all those things, and allows you to sort of direct your attention. This book specifically, this is an interesting book because Robert Service had access to the Soviet Union archives after the Soviet Union fell, but then before the Putin regime started becoming more oppressive and shutting those things down to Western academics. It's a great book. It's free of jargon. It's a good, solid read. Covers the entire Soviet experience up till the collapse of the Soviet Union and sort of the emergence of Yeltsin and the crony capitalism that's sort of degrading now into a form of crony authoritarianism under Putin. But it covers all that stuff, and I think it's a great read. So definitely encourage you to look at that one. The second book that I want to recommend that you look at is the biography of Trotsky by Volkogonov. Now, this book is, while it's a biography of Trotsky, it's a good source also for the Russian Revolution, because Trotsky was a key actor, protagonist, key player in the Russian Revolution and the Civil War until he fell afoul of Stalin. So it's not just the good for Trotsky, but also for that whole period. What's good about Volkogonov is he was actually head of the Russian or the Red Army, Soviet Army's psychological warfare division. So, like, how cool is that, right? So he always had access to all the information that he wanted. And then when the Soviet Union fell, he still continued to have access to the Soviet archives. And so he had a ton of material to work with. And he's passed now, but he was a great historian as well as a military person. And the interesting book about this and why it's maybe a bit controversial is he does a great job of connecting Trotsky to the violent nature of the Marxist ideology that Lenin built and created for Russia, and that was generally or ultimately passed on to Stalin. So he does a good job of putting Trotsky into that context of sort of violent, repressive Soviet Marxist-style politics. And Trotsky, as brilliant as he was, as capable as he was not above the use of terror in order to enforce or to further political agendas of the Soviet revolution. So, yeah, Volkogonov's Trotsky, great book, highly recommended. The last book that I wanted to bring up on today's video was a more recent book by Anne Applebaum. And it's called Red Famine: Stalin's War on Ukraine. It's a great book. This one. This is about the famine in the Ukraine that was engineered by Stalin. It's called the Holodomor, and basically what happened was back in the 30s. I mean, there was a number of famines, but in the 30s there was a serious famine that was created by the party because they were taking grain from peasants that were farming in that area. That's the Black Earth region of the central north, or sort of around Ukraine and into the southern Russia. And basically, they took all the grain, like every bit of grain that they could find, and they used it to make sure that the sort of workers and the people of the cities had food, but to take the surplus and sell it into the West in order to obtain currency that they could use to buy machinery to industrialize. And the argument that runs parallel to that is that in addition to just extracting grain for the purposes of industrialization, that it was also used to break the will of the peasantry, to break the nationalist movement of Ukraine, to make sure that it would not escape the 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 full theater of the revolution. And that's why many people argue that this was a genocide, because it was intentional, basically elimination of a whole class of people on political grounds. So I think it's interesting as well because I mean this book will give you a sense of what's at stake for Ukraine in the war with Russia today, why Ukraine is fighting for all it's worth. There's a very dark history, a very dark recent history that's that many people don't know about, or just sort of tangentially know about, that sort of feeds into all the background of what's happening there. Anyway, those are three great books that you can pick up that are not too academic, that give you a real sense of Russia's or the Soviet Union's 20th century. And would love to hear what books you think are the best on 20th century Soviet history. Love to hear your comments. And if I missed anything, let me know. Please subscribe and like this video, and we'll see you on the next one. I got some more good history books that I think you'll like for the next video. Take care.